screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance, all that is good, true, and beautiful. Friends, welcome back to Rogue Soul, where it is 2026. Welcome to 2026. Happy 2026 to you. So excited about 2026. I recently did the January tarot, so you can at least get a little peek ahead to January 2026. And soon I'll be doing the yearly tarot, in which I also, my aim is to review last year's yearly tarot and kind of see where each month took us, you know, what was sort of predicted and then what came to be. And so that's exciting. That's going to come up soon. I'm normally doing the winning reports for you tonight, but I really was just guided to talk about some New Year related stuff, resolutions, the lack thereof, why maybe you don't want any resolutions, and what might be way better instead, as well as some other lessons that we can tap into along the way. So that's what we're doing tonight here. We're talking about 2026, how every year is better than the one before it, and how you can have the best 2026, the best year of your life, and purposefully, intentionally cultivate the good, true, and beautiful within yourself and your world, and all the dividends that get paid to you when you do that. They're not of a monetary nature, though they could be that too. But they're of a spiritual, mental, emotional nature, which what else would be worth actually aiming for? So I'm excited for that. It's just coming to my mind, so I'm going to share this too. I recently was, I'm a woman of a certain age. I also have thyroid disorder. And so I, despite insanely excellent self-care and health in every other way, I really struggle with some of the transformations that my body and face and my hair and everything's going through. Maybe you can relate. Even men too, right? Of a different way we go through this. And as someone said, it's like reverse puberty, right? Like we went through puberty, and now we're going through like de-puberty, and and it's intense, just like puberty was. But I'm just thinking about, resolutions and the way we look at ourselves and how we go about things. And this was a recent one for me. So I really got to this point where I was like, I can't handle it anymore. Like I can't handle, my hair just like falls out. It's much better. If you followed me long enough, you're like, maybe we're there in the years of hell where I was just like, no, literally like clumps of hair coming out. I have no energy. I'm like having a flare up once a week, and things were really bad. So I've come a long way, but still my hair will like fall out every once in a while, and like, and a shift is happening and whatever. And just like, I just had another flare up this past week, and I'm just like, man. And so I really went into it with myself, and I spent some time, imagining like, yeah, maybe my body just will not be a shape that I approve of. Like I've spent my whole life as a short, petite, relatively like pretty skinny person, and to not be able to control my weight no matter what I eat or do or how much I exercise or anything is just like, it's really hard. And so I went into this, and I was just looking at my future. I was like, but yeah, maybe I'm gonna be a fat old lady. Like maybe that's just the future for me. Like maybe there's nothing I can do about that. And what does it look like? I'm like imagining forward, right? What does it look like if that's who I am? Maybe my thyroid heals, and maybe I stop having flare-ups, and maybe my health improves to such a degree that I do, get to have a more toned, sort of shapely body that I like more. Maybe that happens. But what if it doesn't? Then what? And I'm like imagining my future, and I'm imagining it with no hair, and I'm imagining it with all the worst possible outcomes of these types of health issues. And it was so crazy because I wasn't trying, right? I wasn't trying to make it seem any way to myself as I'm doing this sort of practice, which by the way, I suggest you also try if you like this idea of just looking at the future for yourself and like all the different ways it could be. And, I'm looking specifically at like physical health and body shape and hair amount, because those are the things that are on my mind. But you could do it for anything, career, whatever. But I'm looking forward, I'm seeing, and what I noticed is that I didn't actually have a lot of emotion about any, I saw myself as a fat old, lady with very little hair. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that could happen. It's okay. I can accept it. It wasn't like really full of grief or anger or any of this stuff, and all these other ways I imagined myself were similar. It wasn't a lot of emotion, which sometimes when you do practices like this, a lot of emotion can be released. This is part of why you might do a practice like this, is to release some of the emotion around it and kind of get to grips with it. There wasn't a lot of that. And instead, what I noticed is in every single one, I was smiling. I was smiling. I was happy. And I was like, oh, well, then who fucking cares what I look like? Right? Like, who cares if my hair all falls out? Who cares if I'm fatter than I thought I'd be? Who cares if I have no ability to control those things? Like, oh, well, look at me. I'm happy. And that's all that matters. And, in 2026, you can have the same sort of attitude, right? I've cultivated this in myself. This was not my default. Rather, maybe when I was really young, it was. When I was really young, I was definitely a very happy, like, go lucky, like, positive, spirit infused child for sure. That got, like, kind of beat out of me by life's traumas. But so it's been there. It's at the root for sure. But for a deeply long period, many decades in my life, I didn't even really smile. I didn't laugh. I've shared this before, so you've maybe heard me say this before if you've been here long enough, but I wasn't just fully miserable, but I was not gonna smile or laugh because, like, that was not how I felt. You could say something funny and I'd kinda like, "Huh," and that was, like, the laugh you'd get out of me. It'd be like a comedy show and I'd be like, "Ha." Like, that's my recognition that I thought that was funny. Not gonna feel it real deeply, because what I felt really deeply was pain. Right? Physically, mentally, emotionally. And so that's where I was at. And so when I started to heal all of this and I started to smile and laugh more, 100% of the people in my life noticed it and said something. They're like, wow, you're really smiling a lot. And compared to how much I smile and laugh now that you see, what I was smiling and laughing then that they were reacting to was very little. Very little. Now I smile and laugh almost all the time because that's what's inside of me, because I've intentionally healed and cultivated this inside of me. And this is pretty much the attitude you want to go into 2026 with. And it's very different from a resolution. We're going to talk about some ways to make it different from a resolution too. So, without further ado, let's get deeper into the episode. I always would love for you to go to roguesoul.org. This is the sites where everything I do is my channeled books, my inspirational books, the fictional trilogy, the orgone that I craft, the classes that I teach, the one-on-one sessions you can access, tarot, spiritual healing, and more. That's all here on roguesoul.org. So go check all of that out. And rogueways.substack.com is where I publish. So I have free articles, I have health articles, I have philosophical, religious, historical, I have book summaries and things and all sorts of explorations here that are for anybody who subscribes. It's also a great way to keep in touch so you know which events are coming up, which classes are coming up. It's a great way to be in connection is if you're subscribed here for free. My most recent free article is Dream Messages from Ancient Greece, in which a shaman who I knew in a past life came to me recently in the astral and taught me that I should be taking fenugreek. Speaking of thyroid and hormonal issues, this is actually a direct response to that, which is pretty awesome. I didn't know, I've heard of it technically before, but I had no idea, and I've never taken it or thought of taking it, and I've never had anyone suggest that I take it, but upon waking I looked into it, and yeah, it's exactly what I need. So that was a fun experience. I share some of the benefits of fenugreek here in case that works for you too. But I also have channeled messages here for the paid subscribers, such as the Galactic Center. This is a message that the spiritual ancestors channeled through most recently. There are tons of them here, and when you subscribe at the paid level, you get access to all of them going back through the years. So 2026 is going to be, I think, my 8th year of doing the show. First under another iteration, then Rogue Ways, and then Rogue Soul now, all really the same show. And it's also going to be my, I think, 6th year of consciously and intentionally channeling the spiritual ancestors. So there's a lot of really powerful content here on rogueways.substack.com. Great place for you to be connected. And again, subscribe at least for free. And then if you love what I do, love the show, want access to those channel messages, subscribe at the paid level and get all those benefits. Thank you. Thank you. And then just to remind you, one of the, I'm always doing sessions, again, tarot healing sessions, channeling sessions, whatever it might be that you're after. But I also, right now, I'm doing the 2026 reading. So I'm going to do the 2026 reading for the year in general for everyone soon. That's free. That'll be on the show within a few days here. But these are just you. This is just your 2026. You get a card for each month, January, February, March, all the way through. We talk about the message for the month, what it might be, like the best way to kind of orient yourself, get ready for it. Especially if it's going to be something that might be challenging or something. We talk about the ways to make that less challenging by the time you get there. The reason that the people who get this reading are people who have done it every year is because every year they see how helpful it was and how accurate it was. So you can't make people come back to you, right? But like, that's a high praise there. So just in case you're on the fence of like, I don't know, do I need that or not? I mean, it's going to be pretty cool. So I hope you all get your 2026 reading. I'm going to be offering those just for this next few weeks of January or maybe longer if some people need to go longer, but it is best to get it in. I mean, we're already in January, so it's best to, encounter it now and get your 2026 a little look ahead. So that's there for you. You can schedule it from the site at roguesoul.org if you go to schedule a session, or you can go straight to the Calendly if you already know that link, calendly.com/rogueways. Everything's right below you, so you can just click over and check it out. But yeah, happy 2026. It's 2026. I know a long time ago I thought I'd never make it here, but here we are. And the world is perhaps much different than we might have thought. Isn't that always true? Whatever we think we know for sure is usually not the case. And here we are, 2026, all kinds of things. I'm going to wait for the, sort of Chinese New Year to talk about the year of the horse stuff and all of this. But yeah, we're halfway through is one way of looking at it. I don't know, you want to call it the tribulation, call it whatever you want. But when I was told via the Ascended Master who channeled through in physical form in front of me and told me, and this was in 2018, that by 2020, difficulty would come to Earth and that it would get more and more and more and more difficult. And that eventually we may even feel as though we had been abandoned by God. I laugh because I'm like, what would make me even come close to thinking that? I can't actually imagine it, but that we might, but that we should remember that we haven't been, and that in fact by 2033 all will be much better, and that the Christ consciousness will return to Earth. That's what they said. And I was like, that's crazy. I don't know what just happened, actually. Like, that was one of the most mind-blowing things that has ever occurred to me in my life, out of a series of many insanely mind-blowing things. And then it was true, because in 2020 shit did go down, didn't it? That was not what I was expecting, even though I had been told that shit was going to go down. So I kind of thought, like, I don't know, maybe that was, maybe we switched timelines. Maybe we switched timelines. No, didn't. But I did that a long time ago, and here we are on it. But yeah, so things got intense. So 2020 to 2033, and we're in 2026, and it has been insane, and it has been pretty bad. And at the same time, it's not been quite as bad as I would have thought. The economy has been crazy and rough for people. Like, we've been weaponized immigration, tearing things apart. We've had like weaponized fraud at the governmental levels. We've had, all of this insane division in society and politically, and all of this like crazy wokeness and, chopping children apart for trans, and just all kinds of madness, things you wouldn't have imagined in 2018. And just like, here they are, fact right in front of you, right? So it's been a crazy time. COVID, pandemic, like, not even to mention that, the fallout in people's health and mental acuity since then. Like, I mean, like, it's actually been pretty nuts. And we're halfway through it. And we've got, 7 years to go. And so, we're doing pretty good, actually, pretty good. So happy 2026. Happy 2026. You can smile and laugh even at the chaos, especially at the chaos. This is the best way to roll through it. But here we are. I hope you're excited about 2026. Most people aren't. Like, and that's sad to me, but that's been true my whole life. This is not a, apocalyptic, like end time sort of like thing. This is the way people tend to roll through life. And there's a time where we were really this was instilled within us. They started, I could name it if I remembered the year, but I remember looking at mass media and being like, oh, why is everything suddenly fully snark, fully, just like attack and diminish and like everything, even just like people who are supposed to be friends on shows are now just like calling each other bitch and like that's supposed to be cool. And it was just very like, let's all be very negative. It's cool to be really negative. And we never really have come back from that. This is actually people's whole personality type is complain about things, feel cool because you complain about things. You're actually like better than the people who might like have a positive outlook because I don't know why. That's just like what's been programmed. So you're supposed to be negative. You're supposed to think everything's stupid. You're supposed to be, snarky and snipey at each other. And that's what's cool. That's what's programmed. I do see that lifting in younger generations. They seem to have rejected it, which I'm proud of them for. But somewhere in the middle here, towards the like tail end Gen Xers through millennial, through, Zoomers and stuff, it's been pretty kind of dark. It's not like doom. I'm just saying that program has been gross to watch and to watch people carry out. And so 2025, like every year of my life, people are like, screw you, 2025. I'm so glad you're over. They're like, goodbye, 2025. Get it out of here. Worst year of my life. Like really. And you probably see this too. And maybe you even do it. There's like, oh, we can't wait to be rid of 2025. Thank God 2026. But at the same time, people will be like, oh, 2026 isn't going to be any different. 2026 is also gonna be awful and stupid, dumb. I'm like, this is very idiocracy training, right? It's very idiocracy, like predictive programming. Like, we're like, welcome to Starbucks, I love you. Like this. It was all just dumb. Ugh, who cares? Get it handy. Like really degraded way of being. And like, of course you should be like, hey, there are some parts of 2025 that were rough, right? Like there were some parts of 2025 that were not great. It is always good to reflect and then to also be like, okay, so how do I make that better? Right? Like, oh man, this group of people I was hanging out with and like that wasn't so great. And then they were kind of backstabbing me or they, did this thing that undermined me in public or whatever. And well, yeah, then maybe you don't want to hang out with people like that anymore. Right? Or you're like, man, my job really like went sideways and I just am not happy in this position anymore. This is a good reflection. Maybe you want to move somewhere else. Right? There's all kinds of goodness in reflection. There's all kinds of goodness in being honest about what didn't work and what wasn't great. But what's not helpful is when you just pretend as though everything was bad, everything is horrible, and you just can't wait to get rid of it. But at the same time, you expect nothing but more of the same. Neither of those is good. It's not good to pretend everything's horrible. It's definitely not good to pretend like that's all that could possibly be. And what I sometimes and often say in moments like that, if there's somebody who's just like genuinely like, man, it's all been awful and it's just going to stay that way, I'm like, then why don't you kill yourself? And people are like, man, that's harsh and dark. And I'm like, no, it's not. You're the one telling me you supposedly genuinely believe everything is shit and always will be. Why would you stay? And really what I'm doing is I'm calling your lie. I'm not actually saying, I hope you die. That's crazy. I'm saying you're a liar and you know it. So stop lying. Lying is not going to help you get better at anything or have a better life or have a better experience in life. It's going to make it infinitely more complicated when you develop this personality that isn't even real, where you're just like pretending to hate everything and think everything is bad, but really inside you don't actually think that or believe that. And you're not cool. You're not cool for thinking everything sucks or pretending to think that everything sucks. It doesn't make you cool. It doesn't make you like wise. It doesn't make you more intelligent than you. People really think this is some sort of like, oh, if you still have hope, you're just a little lost puppy and like what a naive idiot. Like, no, I think you're the naive idiot actually for thinking that the best way of going about this is to be doom gloom about it, right? So this sort of energy of like, yeah, good riddance 2025. I just want to like slap people and be like, at least shut up. Like, at least go be by yourself in a dark room and do this weird thing you're doing. Like, why like throw that out at the world and be like, yeah, everybody, I hate 2025. Get your shit together, bro. You are an adult. And I know it's hard. I know that like most people haven't shown you what an adult is because most, it's like 97% of people are just children in big bodies. But like you could do better. You can do better. And we all can do better. And so hopefully we're going to do better. But let's start at least, if you haven't got here yet, by trying not to just feed into this really fake, totally programmed culture of being snarky, snipey, dismissive, negative, critical. You know, it's the safe route for sure. Like if you're critical of everything first, no one can be critical of you. Right? Or you had nothing to lose because you already didn't hope because everything's already shit. Like I get the black pill sort of, absolute everything is miserable route. I get it. I did it. It's way safer. It's not real and it's not helpful. So at least keep it to yourself if you're going to do it. When you see other people do it, try to just turn around, walk away, go to the bathroom or whatever you need to do to get away from it because you don't want to be encouraged to be like that. So you don't want to be around it. And then ideally, you could just switch the way you talk about it. Like, yeah, that was hard. What could be better next time? How can I do it differently next time? That wasn't great. It was really challenging. In fact, I'm not even sure what to do differently, but I know I want it to be different. At least, right? At the very least, start to like shift things in that direction. Because just being negative and just being like, oh, isn't it so fun to just hate all of 2025 together and act? Like, no, it's not. I know you're not helping anyone. You're definitely not helping yourself. So this whole article I'm on, I actually hate. Sorry, whoever wrote it. I'm sure you're a great person. They're just like, yeah, 2025 does feel awful and horrible, and our whole generation is screwed, and it's because the world is so bad. But you know what? At least you can just take a little bit better care of yourself. I'm like, that is a hopeless, hopeless article. That's a silly take. And you have to pay to read it, which is fascinating. But yeah, so let's let go of that hatred of a year thing. That's really, really silly. And then also, I think another thing we might want to let go of is resolutions in general. And maybe not. Maybe you keep yours, but just hear me out. I hear is this interesting thread. You could have found this in many different places on Reddit, but I just picked this random one, and so it happens to be Ask Women Over 30. So it is all women, by the way. So sorry, but you could find the same for men, and you could find it for anyone of any age group, actually. And what it is someone just asking, what were your resolutions last year? Did you achieve them? And what are your resolutions this year? And if you read it, it's a list of people who are essentially saying, like, here was my resolutions last year. I got some, I didn't really get others. And there's generally some negative feelings around that. There's a lot of people here who are good at being like, and that's okay. And it was just a goal anyway. And, I'm still doing great. And that's cool. That's a good thing to see. But there's some people too, they're like, oh, I didn't do it, and oh, I didn't do it, and oh, I didn't make it, and oh, I didn't quite cut it. And then, and there's some celebration, like, yeah, here's the goal I did meet, and here's how it was. And, and then there's always a few posters who are like, here was all my goals, and I met every single one of them and exceeded them because, of course, I did, because it's easy, and like, and everybody kind of hates that person. And that person probably has a lot of trauma, but good for them for achieving goals. So there's that, and then people are just setting new ones again, and a lot of them end up being the same ones that they had set the year before and didn't make, right? And so so you see this over and over again. Like, here's the ones, didn't really make most of them. Feel bad about not doing it. Gonna try again this year, but with a little less hope since I have yet another failure in my book. You read between the lines is what you're essentially reading. And so me personally, my goals last year, my resolutions last year were kind of I don't know. I think they were easy, honestly. And I made them just because they're actual goals I have, and they just happen to be my goals when New Year's hits. But you could ask me every day of the year, like, what are my goals? And I could list some for you. So it wasn't like I made them for New Year's, is one thing that I might be doing differently than some people. I just always have goals for myself. And I think everyone does if you really get down to it. Hopefully you're present enough, self-aware enough that you can elucidate those goals for yourself, but you probably have them even if you haven't. They're in there, right? They're in there kind of pushing you in the directions you want to go. There are directions you want to go, is another way to say it. But so I had these New Year's resolutions last year for 2025. I know one was like to be doing more in-person interactions in general. And so that could be like with a club, with a group, with just friends, just being places in person with people. And that may sound silly, but I'm like, I see that dying in our culture, and I want to be part of the movement to bring it back. So I want to do what I can to, and it's not always easy for me because I do have a lot of health challenges. So to get out and about and to be with other people is like a little bit harder than it has been other times in my life. And so I have to make an effort to do it. But it's otherwise easy. It's pretty easy to like have more person to person, face to face interaction than you did the year before, especially when we're still sort of recovering from our years of not having any with the pandemic, right? So maybe that was easy. Another one was to learn to sing or sing more or sing with a group. And I did. I took like a singing lesson, and I did a lot of singing on my own, and I did a lot of practicing, like hitting notes with this app that's pretty cool, and that sort of stuff. And I could have done more, but the goal was just to do it. So there was no like, oh, become a whatever singer and do like a performance. No, it was just like sing more. And I did. So like I hit it, right? So I had some pretty easy resolutions, some pretty easy goals. I don't remember if I had other ones. Those are the two that I do remember. And I just feel good about them anyway. I would have felt good even if I didn't really make them, because they're not things that like, oh, I don't know, that are high stakes, right? If you're like, oh, my resolution is to get this degree, and then like life happens and you just don't, you might really feel bad about yourself. But really, it's like you could look at this a different way. And like, again, some of these people on this list did a great job of this, of just saying like, you know what, though, I started and I was relatively consistent, and I only stopped when something out of my control got my way, or and that's cool too. So I think like if we're going to have resolutions, we should have ones that are, I don't want to dumb them down or make them so easy just so you can attain them either. That's silly. But have attainable goals, and definitely focus on like the steps to get there instead of like the final destination. And then celebrate every bit of progress you make. And be honest about the times where you maybe did fail yourself, but be honest too that the vast majority of the time you aren't failing yourself. You're just dealing with what has to be dealt with. You're doing what has to be done. And sometimes that means you didn't do what you kind of thought you wanted to, right? I still have had a goal for, God, like 7 years now, 6 years now, to do a Northeast road trip. And that just has not happened. But other really cool things have happened. So it's not like I've like given up on that goal or my life or, anything. It's just that like it has shifted. And now it's on a list in my brain, in my heart, right? Of like things that would be cool, and that are attainable, but like it's also not super important. So to have this sort of flexibility with yourself that is, you do have this, like some kind of, accountability to yourself, but in a really realistic way. If you can do all those things, then by all means have resolutions. But if what you're doing is like, no, really, this is the year where I change 100% of myself, and all of a sudden all my habits are very different, and expect that to be successful, it's not very realistic, right? So maybe just don't even do that. Or if you do, it's like an ongoing thing and it shifts when it needs to. And it's just about reflection and self awareness more than anything else, right? More than anything else. Maybe that's it. There are these ideas about like why resolutions fail. So this is such a common thing that we have to reassure each other after the New Year's like hype comes and goes and we're all failing in our resolutions. We have to like reassure each other, like, no, really, it's okay. And it is, and it's true. This is from Very Well Mind. It says people often set resolutions that are too big and need smaller immediate goals. So we kind of talked about that. Understanding why you want to change is more important than thinking you should change. And that's like that's the stunner right there, right? It's actually more important to understand like what am I actually after? Right? It was obvious to me, like, why do I want more in-person stuff? And I'm like, because I value that and I want to see it around me. So I need to be a part of it. Right? Why do I want to sing more? Like, I just have always wanted to and never, it's part of my throat chakra healing, it's part of my ongoing self healing, to like let my voice sort of shine. And I've just always wanted to and never really did. So I'm just doing it. It's just fun, right? Why? You have to know, why do you want these things? Most people's resolutions are about body image, right? Most people's resolutions are about body image. And then you say, well, why? Why do I want my body to look a certain way? And usually it's to fit some, right, stereotype or some, image or some, thing. And it's about self-judgment and self-hatred and all of this stuff that we could do a lot better. We could have a lot better goals than that. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to look pretty or you should do whatever you want, look handsome, look buff, do whatever you want. But hopefully you're also realizing like, well, what actually matters is I have functional movement in my body and that I'm healthy and I have muscles that are, appropriate for the tasks I need for the rest of my life. Or, it's way, way more important than like how much you weigh. So understanding why we want to change, more important than thinking we should or feeling like we need to, right? That we have to be something different than we are. And then it points out change becomes a habit by sticking with small steps rather than making drastic changes all at once. And that's another thing we do is we say, okay, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. That's my resolution. Well, really, realistically, it'd be a better resolution to say, like, I'm gonna eat in a different way. I'm gonna do it like this. Right? I'm going to go out to eat less. I'm going to cook more. I'm going to make sure that it's this type of food, right? High protein or low fat or low carb or whatever you're doing to yourself, and that I'm going to, not include these foods and I am going to include these foods, but I'm going to do it like this. And I know I'm not going to be able to do that all at once. So I'm going to make, a list of like, here's the meals I'm most likely to actually make for myself for now. Here's the goal meals that I'm going to get to, that sort of stuff. Way better than I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to lose 60 pounds, whatever it is that's in your head. Right. And so that, I think it's obvious to some people. I think some people think they know it, but I don't know that everyone does it. But there's this stupid thing. I hate it so much because every meeting I've ever been to in my life has been so pointless. And at least, I don't know what, like 50% of them have been SMART goal meetings. We're going to do SMART goals, guys. Make your SMART goals. I should be able to tell you exactly what that stands for, how much I hated it and how stupid it was. But it's like something measurable. Well, I don't even remember. It's all dumb. But if you take that out of the workplace and you just apply it to yourself, this methodology is actually important. You say, okay, if the end goal is losing 40 pounds, how do you actually need to get there? We have to eat different. You have to work out more. You have to understand your own metabolism, your age, your all this stuff. And you have to then, sort of plan like, okay, well, like how much activity and when, how am I going to get there? It's just to like break it down into like the most manageable steps. And now you might actually get to the point where you do that, but not if you don't. So being able to say like, okay, by January 15th, I'm going to have at least like gone to the gym a few times and started a few new meal types. And then by like February 15th, I'm going to have, gone even more, tried a few group classes and then tried even more different meal types and whatever. By March, I'm going to be eating out only once a month instead of 10 times a month or whatever it might be for you, right? Those types of things actually are. That is actually where SMART goals belong. In your own heart and mind, not in some sort of stupid setting where someone's making you do it for no reason. And yeah, that's why we fail. That's why people fail at resolutions. That's why resolutions are pretty silly overall, actually. Unless you break them down like that, unless you really get it. And honestly, again, that should be happening all year, not just in January, right? So this is another one that's even better. Psychology Today. It says why resolutions fail, the missing fourth element, and what Plato understood about lasting change that modern psychology forgot. It says most resolution strategies pit willpower against desire, creating an internal war that we usually lose. This is so true, right? This is another thing probably most of us have experienced by now where you're like, I'm going to stop eating desserts. But then every once in a while, you're like, I have to have a dessert right now. And then you do. And now you just eat desserts every day again, let's say, right? I'm going to stop smoking. Well, I really want to smoke when I'm drinking. Okay, I'll just, oh, well, then I could probably also have one when I wake up. And like, oh, okay, well, then I'm just smoking 2 packs a day. Right? We just do this. Oh, we really want to smoke. And then we're telling ourselves, no, don't smoke no matter what. And so a lot of better methodologies have come about, especially with addiction and things we're trying to quit, where they say, okay, do it way less, and now 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 all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore. Instead of just straight willpower over all desires. You can do it. I'm really good at that. Not everybody is. Most people aren't. I'm good at it because of trauma. It's not a good thing that I'm good at it, by the way. Like I can do anything at any time. But some things you maybe shouldn't do. It says Plato knew something about lasting change that modern self-help has forgotten. Resolutions are commands from above. Identity shifts rewrite the whole system. I remember this is the silliest identity shift I've ever made, but I remember I was living in a certain place and I suddenly had to drive a long time to get to work. It was a beautiful drive and I loved it. And I listened to great podcasts and it was cool. But I was like, I don't have time anymore to make myself this beautiful breakfast I always did, not every day at least. So every once in a while, the only place that was open that I could get something that was actually healthy-ish was Starbucks. And I had never gone to Starbucks because I hated them because they're a mega corp and you should go to the little coffee chains. And my whole life I'd been like that. And then all of a sudden at like 35, I was going to Starbucks to get my drip black coffee and my egg white bites or my kale juice. They had a kale juice, like whatever I thought was healthy at that moment. And that worked for me. And so all of a sudden I was a Starbucks person and I was like, man, I became a Starbucks fan. I like hated myself for a minute, but I was like, I don't really have a better option. So I'm a Starbucks person now. So the stupidest identity shift, but it's interesting because it actually kept me sort of healthy on my goals and able to go to work and do all these things and live in this place I wanted to live in. And so, yeah, my identity shifted. That changed my behavior faster than any sort of resolution would have, any sort of command of like, I no longer do this or I do this now. It was just, yeah, I guess I'm a Starbucks person. Oh, golly. Stop asking, it says, what to accomplish. Start asking who you want to become. Who do you want to become? Right? It says every January, millions of people make resolutions. By February, most have abandoned them. The failure rate, depending on which study you cite, hovers around 80%. 80% of people. And this is interesting. So we've been going to the gym for years. And so every January when we go, all of a sudden it's so packed and it sucks. And everybody who goes regularly like hates it, and you want to love it. But you want everyone to be happy and at the gym. And that's great. Congratulations to everyone. At the same time, you're like, I know you're all going to quit in a month. And for now, you're just making it harder for me. So you get a little bit of that, but we all know it. And then, yeah, they'll be gone by February and then it's back to normal. It's just every time. So it says, we've lived it, but each year we return to the same strategies. Let's be more specific. Let's start smaller. Let's find an accountability partner and track our progress. It says these aren't bad suggestions, but they miss something fundamental about how psychological change actually works. The standard model of resolution keeping imagines a battle between two forces, a rational mind that knows what's good for us and the appetitive. All right, we'll go with appetitive part that wants what it wants. Willpower in this framing is the rational commander issuing orders to the rebellious desires. You will go to the gym. You will not eat the cookie. You will wake up early. This is essentially the tripartite psychology that Plato outlined in the Republic: reason, spirit, and appetite locked in struggle for control of the soul. Modern self-help has inherited this framework without examining it. We assume the path to change runs through strengthening the reason's grip on appetite. But Plato's psychology contained a fourth element that we've largely forgotten: how the parts of the psyche relate to one another, how we relate to ourselves as a whole. This isn't another combatant in the internal war, it's what determines whether there's a war at all. Consider the difference between these two statements: I will go to the gym, and I am someone who values physical health. Ooh, I love that. The first is a command issued from above. It requires ongoing enforcement. Every morning, reason must win the argument against the part of you that would rather sleep in. This is exhausting, and exhaustion eventually loses to desire. It's not sustainable, right? It says the second is a guiding principle rooted in identity. It doesn't require daily battles because it reorganizes priorities at a deeper level. And again, back to that example, even though it's very stupid, once I accepted, like, yeah, I guess I'm a Starbucks person, like, I no longer had to battle against my desire to get to work on time and have some sort of healthy sustenance inside of me before I started. I didn't have to battle that anymore. So I was just like, it's okay that I'm a Starbucks person, right? My identity shifted. So stupid example, but it makes sense given this context, especially, right? I am someone who values being full of something healthy before I begin work. Therefore, it's okay. When physical health, it says, is part of who you are, the question isn't whether to exercise, but how. The gym isn't a duty imposed against resistance, it's an expression of how you relate to yourself. Plato's divided line offers a useful framework here. He distinguished four levels of understanding, moving from conjecture through opinion and logic to abstract principle. Most resolutions operate at the opinion level. Specific behavioral commitments, quote, I will exercise 3 times per week, is clearer than I should probably get in shape, but it's still a command requiring enforcement. Lasting change happens at the level of principle, not rules imposed from above, but guiding truths that express who you are. At this level, you're not a taskmaster issuing orders to a resistant self. You're relating to yourself more like a friend, someone invested in your flourishing, not your compliance. I see this clinically all the time, the author says. Patients arrive wanting to change behaviors, stop drinking, leave a relationship, assert themselves at work. The ones who succeed aren't those with the strongest willpower. They're the ones who undergo a shift in how they relate to themselves. When someone stops drinking by white-knuckling through each craving, they remain in their own self-understanding a drinker who isn't drinking. The identity persists even as the behavior changes. Relapse lives in that gap. This is actually so interesting. I know we're not talking specifically about addiction, but this is what I've long said about things like 12-step programs in AA, is that it never made sense to me that we would say to ourselves, I'm always going to be an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic, and I'm always going to be an alcoholic. That actually doesn't in any way make sense to me, and it didn't work for me. Right? What worked for me instead was to say, I don't have to ever drink again. I don't have to. I don't want to. I don't have to. And I'm going to continue to try not to, or to choose not to, as often as possible. Right? And for me, it actually wasn't drinking. It was a bunch of other drugs, but AA was the only meeting I had open to me. So I went to it. So everyone else there was alcoholics, and I was like a meth head, acid head, like all kinds of garbage. But that didn't work for me to say, like, oh, I'll always be this way, because I knew it wasn't true. I knew this was something I was going through, not like a permanent aspect to my identity. So this is absolutely true. White knuckling through it, just like, yeah, well, now you're just someone who identifies as someone who can barely hold on to not drinking. That's not a great, healthy identity to have, right? But it goes on to say, but when someone comes to genuinely see themselves as a person who values clarity and presence over numbing, the cravings don't disappear, but they lose their authority. They lose their authority. They become noise from an outdated system, not signals from the true self. The relationship with self has changed. And it's so interesting. People will ask me all the time, yeah, but how did you quit? How did you quit? No matter what we're talking about, cigarettes, alcohol, all the things. And every time I'm like, because I wanted to, right? And it sucks that that's hard to understand, but it is very true. When you genuinely are like, this isn't me anymore, then you just do. You just shift away from it. No matter how long you've been abusing it, no matter how often, no matter what dose, right? A little different with nicotine, a little different with alcohol and heroin. They're physically addictive substances, but still similar in that once you're genuinely in your internal self is like, that's not me. That's not what I'm doing. That's not who I am. That's when it shifts, right? You have to get to that point. It says this is the missing fourth element in resolution psychology. We focus on strengthening reason, managing appetite, perhaps marshaling spirit as an ally. But what we neglect is the relational question. How do you relate to yourself? Are you a commander demanding obedience or a friend supporting growth? Yeah, it's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time, right? Be your own friend, support your growth, be aware of yourself, hold yourself to some accountability, but also forgive yourself when you don't do it perfectly, right? Look at the progress, not the perfection, right? Keep moving forward. Let yourself take breaks. Like, this is how to be a friendly self supporter, a friendly self care person. Different questions should be asked. It says, instead of what do I want to accomplish this year, ask who do I want to become? Or instead of how can I make myself do this, ask what would it mean to be someone for whom this flows naturally? I love this too. If you ever have been in counseling or therapy, or you just do it for yourself now, or you come to someone like myself or whatever, you'll be asked questions like these, right? What would it look like if? Who would you be if you're the person who's already buff and eating perfectly, right? Who would that person be? What would it look like? How would it feel? And it's interesting because if you switch the narrative from psychology now to sort of spiritual, like woo-woo type stuff, now we're talking about manifesting, and it's the exact same principles, right? Oh, you already are the thing. You're not trying to become it. You are that. So what's in you already? What do you see already around you that already reflects that? Focus on those things. Right. So it says the resolution to exercise becomes the project of becoming someone who values vitality. Resolution to save money becomes relating yourself as someone who finds security and sufficiency. Resolution to be more patient becomes cultivating a self that understands most urgencies or illusions. It takes longer, it says, but it lasts. And so it's cool. I love that too. Identity. Ask yourself, who am I, right? What do I value? It's an expression of how you relate to yourself. And that's how to make it actually lasting. So really in line with all of what we've been saying, right? Focus on that. Focus on those things. And then this is an ongoing thing. It has nothing to do with New Year's, actually. It's just who you are. You're someone who constantly evaluates, who am I? What do I value? What does it look like when I value that? All right, then I'm moving that direction now, right? And that, again, is manifestation. You're double dipping here. And so one way to do that really, really concretely right now, since we're here at the beginning of 2026, my bad, is to look back at 2025 and reflect on it. And you're not doing this to tear yourself apart. In fact, what you're doing is you're looking for all the awesome, great things. Look back and say, what happened in January? What about February? What about March? What was great about this year? Don't even do it month by month at first. Just let yourself, brainstorm. What were all the cool things that happened this year? I'll tell you what, this is so hard for me because my concept of time is ridiculous. I couldn't even describe it to anyone. I have it's not. And here's, we'll get there. I'll just tell you, it's really hard. So I have a method for you if you're like me. If you look back at a year and you're like, I don't even know what happened I have no idea what happened this year, like at all. Then I've got your tool for you. Don't worry. Got you. But if you're not that messed up about time and space, if you do have a good grasp on linear reality, then you could probably just sit down and do this. You could sit down and do this. And so, this is AI's overview. It actually happens to, like I've told you guys, I have these tabs open to remind me like what my goal was to talk about, but AI actually did a pretty good job reflecting on 2025, what to reflect on. It said, look back at lessons learned, valuing relationships, managing stress, personal resilience, and use it to inform a more authentic forward path, focusing on honing your mindsets, honoring who you are, releasing negative patterns, etc. And it says, so you can, reflect back on relationships, family, friends, loved ones, all of it. Look back on resilience. Were there times that were hard, but how did you do better through it than maybe you used to, right? Or how did you just show resilience, or, show an ability to move through hardship? Where did you have more self-compassion, self-care? Where did you manage your energy better, your time better? Where did you grow through mistakes, right? Where did you show what you value? What cool things happened to you? It doesn't actually say this here, but that's what I'm thinking of. What cool things that occurred? What did you make happen that was cool? What did you accomplish? All that sort of stuff to look back and reflect. And again, we're back into that's a very practical approach to a way that you can ask yourself, what do I value? Who am I? What am I moving towards? Right? As you're looking back and you're seeing where it's already happened. You're looking at what you value. If you sit down and you just brainstorm through the year, what was cool, what happened, you're already going to automatically be writing down the things that you value most, because that's what's standing out in your mind. Right? When we are not writing down the things that we failed, or that were bad, or that were horrible, and if so, it's so that we can say, that was really hard, but look at how I handled it. It was great. That was a huge improvement for me. But that while you're doing this, you're also then naturally cultivating your goals for the next year. You're naturally valuing and identifying the things that you value in yourself. You're naturally already doing what that article just told us to do, which is to find our identity, see what we value, and shift it a little bit if we need to, and move more and more into that understanding of ourselves and our relationship to ourselves, and knowing our identity. That is more effective. And again, you're also going to automatically be celebrating joy. You're going to be feeling grateful. You're going to be feeling honored, right? All these good energies, loving, authentic, genuine energies that you're going to be genuinely feeling while you're doing this practice. And that's already going to be manifesting more of the same. So if you can say to yourself, oh yeah, remember when all that money came in? That was so great, so valuable. And now you're already creating that energy that creates more of it in the future, because that's what gratitude does. Gratitude transforms everything. And I have a couple channeled messages about this. I have a couple shared experiences about this on my Substack. So this was actually from 2023, almost 3 years ago now, where I was deep in that dark period of time of really having health struggles. And I had, I think, pretty recently started to experience, first it was trigeminal neuralgia, and then it started becoming general migraines, and then it started becoming multi-day migraines, and things were off. And I had this period I wrote about in this article, The Power of Gratitude and Love, where I talked about, I was in another migraine. And it was awful, more so than usual, because the people were putting siding up on my house that I live in. And so I was in this horrifying state of pain, and this constant pounding noise was coming right into anywhere in the house I could be, because it's a very small house. So I had this stunning nightmare going on, and in the midst of it, I really couldn't handle it. And I don't know if you know, there's nothing really anyone can ever do for a migraine. And so you're just in horribly destabilizing pain. But I was able to do this thing where I was like, okay, I don't even know how, because it's really hard to think. And you're seeing flashes of lights, and you're nearly vomiting, and it's excruciating. But I managed to just have this in me where I'm every time the flashing lights weren't overwhelming, and every time it was in between one of the banging sessions on the wall, and every time it was, just a moment of a little bit less pain, I would say, thank you so much. This moment is great. And even though in general, nothing was great, I was just doing that. And every time I was saying, okay, that's a better than the previous moment. I'm literally talking second to second here. I was doing this. And in doing that, it allowed me to have a little bit of release. It's hard to even describe, because it was still going right back into the pain or the whatever, the overwhelm. But then I have another moment of just slightly less pain, slightly a little bit of more clarity. I'm oh, right here, this is great. Thank you so much. And then those started to get longer, and then they started to get longer. And then they got long enough that I fell asleep, which is nearly impossible in a migraine. I fell asleep. Like they got long enough that my body could use it to sort of like exit, exit the moment, which you just wish you could do in a migraine. And it worked. And so I was finding this love and gratitude in a really gratitude filled situation. Hard to find gratitude and love in that moment, but I made it this really intentional thing I was doing, and it worked. And I would say, thank you for healing me. I'm healed. Thank you for this moment. It's better. Thank you. I'm healing. And then I had that. I fell asleep. When I woke up, the migraine had passed. I was in the migraine after party, which is also its own horror, but way better than the migraine itself. The migraine hangover, some people call it. And I had slept, and there was no more banging on the wall. The siding was done. So I made it through, right? So I shared this because I'm like, even when we're in like the worst kind of horror, we could do this. But imagine what happens when we do it all the time. You don't have to wait until things are horrible. You could be doing this all the time. In any moment, things are relatively good. You could be like, cool, there's no pain in this moment. There's a cool bird outside. Like my feet don't hurt. Whatever it is, it's just like, this is neat. I like that. And you really can like inculcate this gratitude into yourself and create this habit. And when I wrote this back then, I actually went straight into a channeled message. I said, let's see what the spiritual ancestors have to say. And they went into how there's other things going on. And this is the first time I think I started to connect migraines and other sort of health issues and things I was having to this greater geomagnetic excursion and galactic current sheet, and the way that humanity is transforming and the way we're moving through the solar system, the galaxy and beyond. And so they have this whole channel message about this. This is also not behind a paywall. Every once in a while, one of their messages, I'm very much supposed to just share with everyone. So if you're a free subscriber on Substack, you got that way back then. If you're a free subscriber now, you could find it right now. It's a cool message to read. And so that's there for you. So, focusing on things that are good, no matter how much bad you think you see, is still a highly worthy, right? That's the point here. So going back to people who are like, 2025 is so bad. Like, I bet you something good happened. I bet you something good. I bet you a bunch of really good things happened to you. I bet you so many things that occurred in your 2025 were freaking amazing. But if you are ridiculous enough and miserable enough to continue making more misery for yourself and refusing to see those things, you're never going to have the breakthrough, right? You're never going to have the, oh my God, I fell asleep and now the migraine's gone. You're never going to have that. So it's worth it. It's worth it to look in gratitude and love at even the things that might, upon, your habitual negativity or your habitual misery or your unwillingness to shift your perspective, maybe didn't seem that way to you. You might find a lot more good than you ever thought. Might be good for you. And I had this thing much more recently, just a few months ago, November of 2025, I wrote Gratitude Changes Lives. And we were doing a blessing on gnosis of gratitude and grace. It was a beautiful blessing that I did that month. Many of you came to it. It was really powerful. We had a huge turnout. It was awesome. You all know then the power of those blessings. So great. I'm so grateful when I get to offer those. But I wanted to share as well this list of things that I was grateful for. There's Thanksgiving that month, and we talk about gratitude that month, and so I wanted to share this. But what's cool about this list is that anybody can feel grateful for these things. They don't require you to have a specific type of life or living situation or relationships or job or money or lack thereof or anything else. These are things that everyone can be grateful for. So if you're really having a hard time coming up with 2025 things to be grateful for, right, then you can visit this list. This is called Gratitude Changes Lives. Come find out. Like I said, it was November a few months ago. You could search for it on Substack and find this list if you want. Feel free to copy it, share it, take it, use it, whatever. Put it on your wall if you want to have more gratitude. If that's one of your identity shifts and things you value going into 2026, you can use this and actually look at it every day if you want, and just take a minute to feel grateful for these things. So I'm grateful for the life I'm able to live each day. I'm grateful for the breath that moves through my body. enlivening me with life force energy. I'm grateful for every cell of my body choosing to live in harmony with my highest thriving in every moment. I'm grateful for the blood that renews my cells in every minute of every day, constantly full of cosmic fire. By the way, you can change any of these. If you're like cosmic fire, just take it out, do you. I'm grateful for the organs that do their best to achieve high harmony and wellness, even amidst the sea of modern carnage and destruction we live within. Again, that's not that great to include in a gratitude list, but I put it there because I know so many people get lost in that. And they're like, there's nothing to be grateful for. We live in a sea of 5G, pedophiles run our government, everything's horrible. I'm like, well, despite that, isn't it neat that our organs work? Isn't that crazy? I'm grateful for that. I think that's cool. Right? I'm grateful for my voice that may bring wisdom and truth into the world, help me ask for and receive what I need, and help others receive what they need as well. I'm grateful for my mind, which is constantly seeking new information to replace old ideas and beliefs, while also recognizing and holding timeless wisdom. I'm grateful for my soul, which has always guided me, even though through the darkest hells and travails humanity can experience. I'm grateful for my guides and allies in the unseen who have never given up on me, who have found ways to signal to me even in the nightmares of life and have always helped me to return to the light. I'm grateful for the light of God and truth that is ever present, a substrate of all time and space, and which anchors us in the eternal so that we may return there when we are done here. I'm grateful for you who read this and resonate the love that is inherent in these words. I'm grateful for the earth, the cosmos, this universe of material reality that allows us all to grow and develop. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you. So decent list. Again, everybody has those things. If you are alive, you have those things. And you can be grateful at least for those things. And so this is what I do. This is what I was saying when I don't have the best time space, like understanding if things aren't dated like that on a Substack, I would have no idea when I even wrote that. It's just a thing. So, and I tell what I understand about that, by the way, is not that it's a defect I have. It's like a consequence of constantly moving in and out of all sorts of layers of consciousness. It's just sort of like a realization like that time isn't really real anyways. And so trying to find like a point in it is sort of like, why are we even doing this? So that's part of why I genuinely have very little understanding of time and space, but this is how I deal with that, right? So I know that about myself. So what I do is I have this jar. By the way, it's empty right now because it's the 1st of January, 2026, but I just emptied it and went through all the things in it. And what I do is throughout the year, I put at least once a week, I try. You can do way more. You do once a day if you want. If you want your jar to be really full, you do once a day. You can try to do at least once a week. Sometimes, by the way, I forget. So I'll go back and just try to like list like 6 things that I think I haven't done this for like a month. So I want to like get my things before I forget in a jar. But the things you're putting in the jar are anything that you're proud of, anything that happens that's fun, a cool experience, a realization that struck you, right? Some moment you had with a person that was just nice, right? A perfectly clear blue sky. We all know how rare those can be these days. Anything at all, anything you want that was just cool and good. And you just put it in the jar. I do it on a sticky note and have all different color sticky notes. So it's just like multicolored jar of fun. And all year long, I'm like, ooh, yeah, the jar's getting full, right? Cool things going into this jar. And then at the end of the year, like today, I get to go back and go through those. I'm like, oh yeah, that was this year. Oh yeah, that was cool. Oh my God. There's things that I would have thought while I was experiencing them. Oh, I'll never forget this. And then I'm reading it. I'm like, I forgot that. I actually forgot that. So glad that I had this here. Right. And as I'm doing it, I'm genuinely feeling like, oh yeah, that experience was so cool. All this gratitude, all this joy, all this love is just automatically coming up. I don't have to try to bring it. I don't have to summon it. It's just there because I'm resonating with my own experiences that I've already had, but I'm doing it all in one moment. And I have all these sticky notes laid out on my desk in front of me, and I get to look down and go, what a great year 2025 was. What a freaking great year. I'm not like, oh my God, Bill Clinton did this and Obama said that and Trump's such a whatever. And oh my God, look at what the National Guard and the taxes and the blah, blah. Is that my life? No. It's a bunch of random shit happening in the world that I have no control over. This is my life. This series of experiences, realizations, understandings, all of these relationships, all of these things, that's my life. And what an awesome life I've gotten to live. And there's hard things in there too. You know, when I almost died twice this year, those are in there too. Not as like, haha, I almost died. Isn't that funny? No, but I didn't die, right? I went through a month of pure terrifying hell on death's door and didn't die. And you know what else is in that month? I found such a deeper connection to myself and to some people in my life, such a deeper valuing. You thought I couldn't value it more, valued it more. Right? So here's some good things even on that. So, you know, I said, like, don't necessarily put the negative things in here unless it's like that, unless it's a celebration of like, look how well I did that. That was a rough time. Look how well I did. So that stuff's in there too. So proud of myself, right? That's in there too. So this is a great idea. This is just on a Reddit thing. I've told you guys about this before. If you've watched me long enough, I did it last year too, I think, at least last year, if not the year before. And it's not only fun, it's like highly reflective, but more importantly than that, it causes you to feel those things. Here's my little stuff for you. Blurred most of them out because they're not for you, they're for me. But for others, you're welcome if you wanted to really try to look at them. And yeah, multicolored, joyful memory. Is there even 52 here? Close enough. And yeah, I just had this great, beautiful, not the purpose of it, but the unintended consequence of like this manifestation session. Because I sat there and had this genuine joy and gratitude and feelings, emotions coming up, remembering all these things, I'm automatically drawing more of that same type of thing to me. So all the good things I got last year, I'm going to get more of this year. All the good things I'm reflecting on, I'm going to naturally be drawn to and draw to me in this coming year. Right? This is an automatic. This is like a magnetic thing. It's also because you just notice those things more now. You're developing this habit of saying, yeah, it is good. Yeah, I am glad. Yeah, it is a cool life. Yeah, I'm grateful for it. And so then as you move forward, you're like, oh, this too. Here's another really cool thing. Here's another thing I'm grateful for. And now you're living your life in that way. And like I told you, I have very intentionally become this person who smiles and laughs and has a good life. Very intentionally done that for myself. And this is one of those ways that would be so easy to implement. So easy to implement. You put it somewhere you can see it every day so that you're looking and you're like, oh yeah, I want to put something in the jar. What's been happening lately? Right? Sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to put this in the jar. Here's one that's going in the jar, right? And then you're feeding into it more. You're now expecting. You're expecting, what am I putting in the jar? What's going to happen this year that gets to go in the jar? Right? And it gets bigger and bigger. This is a manifestation. It is beyond resolution, right? It's that going down to that level of identity. It's saying in every one of these, I'm saying who I am. I'm someone who values this. I value these experiences. This is who I am. Right? So just like Plato wants us to do, just like that psychology article says, just like manifestation says you have to, you're saying, here's who I am. Here's what happens to me. Here's what I value. This is what I feel about it. Now I get more of that. What a fun way to do that, all in one. I also found this gratitude list. This is just 50 things that, again, if you're someone who's kind of challenged, like, I don't have anything to be grateful for, 2025 is all bad. Well, here, again, take my list from my Substack, take a list like this, and just borrow it. And be like, yeah, you know what? I actually am, I do value the beauty that's right there in that tree. There, I'm grateful for it. Okay, one done, right? And just get there. You just have to start to choose to do it if you're not already automatically a sort of grateful, reflective person who brings that kind of energy. So feel free to steal lists like this. These are things that pretty much everyone can value, no matter what type of life you're living, no matter what you think your circumstances are limiting you or not. These are things that you can be grateful for. So it is just funny. The reason I go into detail on this is I've had so many people who I've worked with not just even in Rogue Soul, but as a teacher and beyond, just in life, who have said things like that, like, well, I don't have anything to be grateful for. I'm just always like, oh man, whew, life will teach you you're wrong. By the way, it'll be like, oh, did you not? You weren't grateful for that? Let me take it from you for a while. Now you're going to be grateful for it, aren't you? It's like, if you want that, you keep going. If not, be grateful now. Get more of that. Yeah, not less of it. All right. That was a little threat there, just for those of you who need a threat. So this is how 2026 can be your best year yet. You are going to intentionally go into it saying, what am I valuing this year? What do I value in myself? What do I want to knowingly sort of create more of for myself because it's what I value? How might I go about doing that? And here's my jar. I'm going to be adding to it. So I'm going to be looking for those things every week, every day, every moment, what goes in my jar, so that by 2027, I'm going to have a jar of at least 52, all right, one a week or more things that I can look back at and feel genuinely so happy that 2026 happened, right? And that 2026 was my best year yet. That's what we're going to do in 2026. Make it the best year. And if you want, again, to look ahead at 2026 for yourself, you can come get your 2026 reading. If you want to go straight to thecalendly.com/rogueways, you can see it. It's the first thing there. You can click right below wherever you're watching or listening, or you can go to the site, roguesoul.org, and click on schedule a session. Get yourself this session. It's a great way to go into 2026. I love doing these. I love that people come back year after year. Every time I do one, I'm like, which one is this for you? For a lot of people are like, this is my third, fourth, this is my whatever. And that's really nice to see. So start making it your New Year's habit, if you like, and get those messages for each month. Look ahead. Otherwise, look forward as well to the 2026 general reading for everyone that's going to come out, like I said, in a few days. I'm going to aim to do winning report tomorrow. I don't think I did it last week because of Christmas and everything, and because I was moving through some things. So there might be a lot. We'll try to pare it down, make it manageable, but you'll get your winning report. And happy New Year to you. Happy 2026. Know yourself, know what you value, move into it with gratitude and love. You're going to create more and more. It's going to be the best year yet. Until you know it, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
To these screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. Hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.